YouTube, hello. Welcome to a Final Fantasy VII non-spoiler, a Final Fantasy VII Rebirth non-spoiler review. Hope you all enjoyed the series. If you did have a chance to watch it, if you haven't and you're checking this out just to see if maybe Final Fantasy VII Rebirth might be the game for you, this is kind of what this is meant to be. We're not going to go over main story plot. We're not going to go over individual details. We're just going to be kind of talking about the game as a whole, how we felt about it playing through as we've just now completed it as of May 19th. So we're talking about kind of whether or not we think it's a good value, whether we think it's like worth, kind of like, you know, the normal stuff. Like, is it worth buying a PlayStation 5 for this game? And that's probably what I'll title this video, just to have as like a nice clickbait thing, right? So to put my opening thoughts at the beginning, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, in my opinion, was one of the best experiences I've had playing a video game in the modern era. So in the PlayStation 5 era, by far. I don't even think it was close. There have been a lot of great games that have come out over the last, 5 years, right? Mind-blowing experiences, right? You know, you got your Elden Rings, you've got your God of War Ragnarok, you've got a lot of like really great games that have been out. Baldur's Gate 3 that just came out last year, right? Last year was a great year for video games. And so it's almost like you almost get tired of hearing that statement, right? Like, oh, it's one of the best games I've ever played. But like, truth be told, like I played Elden Ring and it wasn't my greatest game of all time, but it's a great game. No, don't get me wrong, it's really well made. And Baldur's Gate 3 is incredible. God of War Ragnarok is an amazing game, right? Like you hear these things a lot recently, but like we're really in a great age for video games. And this RPG was one of the most engaging and entertaining video games that I've played in the RPG scene in a long time, and then it's a Final Fantasy game in a long time as well. This one blows Final Fantasy 16 out of the water. It's not even close. Final Fantasy 16 I also enjoyed quite a bit, but Final Fantasy 7 Remake was by far one of the most electric, entertaining, emotional, what other keywords can I throw in here? Just overall special games that I've ever played. I had a great time from the start of this game to the finish. It was definitely an experience that I wasn't expecting. I didn't expect it to be this good, to be honest with you. I kind of expected it to run into a lot of second entry stumbles, and it does stumble in a couple of spots. Packed with content, it's true. It's true. To put it in perspective, we just beat Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and it took us 105 hours, and we did nearly all of the side content and nearly all of the intel. There was only one intel bit that we did not do, and it was because the recommended level was level 65, and it felt a little, it felt weird sitting there and grinding to that high of a level and then walk into the main boss fight at like level 60, level 70. That just didn't seem right. So we're gonna do it afterwards. It's not that big of a deal, but that was basically the only thing that we didn't do, was some endgame content that was a little bit higher level. But the reality is like every step of this game, from the main story specifically, I loved. The side content, all of the side quests, there's a lot of side quests. There's a lot of like mini games and stuff that you can do. There's a lot of things that you can do that can kind of get you off the beaten path. A lot of it, being honest, a lot of it is pretty fun overall. I'd say like most of the side quests are pretty good. Some of the side quests are great. Some of them are just okay. The mini games, I'd say probably 60% of them, I'd say are pretty fun overall. I had a good time with it. About 35% of them I did once and I was like, yeah, that was fun, and I moved on. And then probably 5% of them I could have done without. And that's probably being a little kind, but like ultimately most of them that I didn't play again, I did once and I was like, okay, like that was fine, whatever, and I moved on. Yeah, overall I feel like the mini games are overall pretty good. They're overall pretty good. I feel like there's probably a lot that they could have either tuned up a little bit better or put a little bit more effort into or more time into. They could have cooked a little bit longer. Maybe they could have put them in the third game and just left them sit there instead, and it probably would have been just fine. But the good news is that most of the mini games you can just skip. You don't really need to play them. What's the one mini game that I would have even one of the mini games that was like locked behind one of the intels in one of the regions that I kind of didn't like? It was over quickly. So once you got through it, it really wasn't that bad. It's really not that bad overall. And I know that there's a lot of folks on the internet that are like really up in arms because I've seen it. People are really pissed about the minigames, and the truth is, you don't have to do it. At the end of the day, you don't have to do it. I think most of the minigame stuff was fun. There's a whole plot behind one of the minigames in the game that is relatively well done, and that goes throughout the entire game, and that's pretty fun as well. So I feel like the minigames overall were pretty well done. And the areas in the game, this is the non-spoiler review, so I can't tell you exactly like why, but the areas in this game, there was only one that I think I probably would have moved down from a really high score, just because I didn't like the travel in that area very much. But every single area is gorgeous. This game is beautiful. From like a visual perspective, this game is absolutely stunning. It looks absolutely fantastic from start to finish. There are very few areas where I'm just like, that could have been touched up a little bit better. I will say, and this is going to go into the spoiler review as well, because I'll actually have some screenshots to show, because I haven't mentioned this even in the live streams. There's some lighting issues in this game that I think probably need to be addressed in either the third game or a patch, where there's a lot of patchy shadows. There's a lot of like really bad issues with how like bright things are, how dark things are. And I don't know if that's like an HDR issue with the PlayStation 5 or if that's a game issue. I'm guessing it's a game issue though. So I feel like the reality is that there's some, it's not a perfect visual experience, but it is damn close. They've done a great job. The cutscenes are fantastic. The facial animations are awesome. You can feel the emotion from the characters on the screen. It's a gorgeous game. The combat is probably one of the most fun I've had in a Final Fantasy game ever, if I'm being blunt. I can't even think of a Final Fantasy game that I had more fun with combat. I'm trying to think. No, I can't think of any. I think this is probably, in terms of combat, I think this is probably my favorite one. It's fast-paced, it's incredibly engaging, there's tons of customization options with the materia system, just like the OG Final Fantasy VII. With all the different like accessories and stuff that you can equip, because there's a ton of accessories too. You can really customize your characters to kind of be whatever you want them to be. It's a pretty impressive game from a combat perspective. So basically saying, how do I put this in a vacuum? I feel like this game, if you love a good plot, you should buy this game. If you love fast-paced action combat, you should buy this game. If you enjoy like really engaging characters and some character growth, you should buy this game. Yeah, the Eidolon fights in Final Fantasy 16 were pretty good, but that was like an individual instance, right? Like, I definitely agree. Those are very fun fights. Those are very fun fights. I'm not taking that away from 16 at all. 16 had some really great moments, but 16's combat outside of that is incredibly stale. Incredibly stale. Especially when your abilities are off of cooldown, or like are on cooldown. You basically are just doing the same 4 sword slices until they come off of cooldown again, which is insanely boring. It's fine for the first bit for 16 because you're walking through and you get different abilities as you go. So it's kind of keeping things fresh, but that was just kind of drawing away from the fact that your only regular attacks are just like say, the same 4-hit combo over and over and over again. Where like Rebirth has the ATB system and that's their cooldown, but that's recharged by you fighting versus waiting, which is a lot more fun to me. I to be honest with y'all, it's just, this game is just one of the best experiences I've had on an RPG, on a Final Fantasy game, on a game in general. I'm incredibly biased because I do love Final Fantasy. But I think looking at it objectively, this has been an incredible experience, and if it's not something that you're interested in playing, it's definitely something you should watch. Not trying to like plug my own YouTube videos here, but like, if you're not gonna play it, you should watch it. It's a very well made game. They put a lot of effort into this. They put a lot of heart into this. And you feel it. You feel it watching it. The final couple of bosses, again, not getting into spoilers, but the final couple of bosses are some of the best boss fights that I've had playing Final Fantasy outside of maybe the big fights in 16. They were super well made, super well done. The enemies design is super well done too. Even the stuff that's just like, there's some recolor stuff, which is pretty common in video games, but like there's some recolor stuff, and even the recolor enemies just look cool and they have cool abilities. And that's not sponsored. But that's a great point though, right? There's a lot of folks that aren't necessarily Final Fantasy fans that have been either watching or have dove into this for the first time, and they're having a blast. And I feel like that's a great like sign off for this game in general. Overall, I don't like giving point totals to things because people get all antsy in their pantsy. They're just like, how dare you give this a 9.8? I looked at it as a 9.6, and this is the reason why you... I'm not gonna do that, right? But overall, this is about as good of an experience as I've had playing a video game in a very, very long time. A very, very long time. I definitely recommend picking it up and playing it if you haven't had an opportunity to yet. It's a lot of fun. I didn't regret any minute spent in this game playing through the main plot. Again, there are some hiccups on some of the side content and some of the mini games, but ultimately, you don't have to do those. For 105 hours, having an issue with like maybe 3 hours of the content, I'm not gonna be a dick about that, right? It's definitely criticism and it's worth pointing out, but it's not something that's gonna make me not play the game again. I'll even go through and play those mini games again, even though I don't want to, but I probably will, because it's just it's another way to just enjoy the game further. So overall, like I said, I don't normally give like number scores to this, but this is as close to a 10 as I'm ever gonna give to a video game. So call it like a 9.75, call it a 9.8, call it a 9.5, whatever you wanna call it. It's so much fun. It's just a fun game to play. I enjoyed every minute. I'm glad that I streamed it, although it was it was definitely difficult for me to stream it. But it's an absolutely phenomenal game. They've done a great job of like hooking the audience and making us really like, we really want to see part 3 already. That's it, man. I just everything about the game that you can talk about critically in terms of like the combat, the plot, the visuals, like how it runs on the PlayStation 5, I think it runs phenomenal. I didn't even play it on the 60 frames per second mode, and I'm not even sure too many people recognized it, right? I think we played it on the graphics setting the entire time, and it looked fantastic. It ran great. I don't know, man. I loved everything about this game. I'm super excited to play through it again. I'm gonna play through it on my couch, not on stream. And I'm gonna play it again. I put 105 hours into this, and I'm still thinking about the game. It's like, it's something I haven't been able to feel for a game in a very, very long time. Basically since Persona 5 Royal, I think was probably the last time I felt this, so about 4 years ago. So yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like if this is something that you've been teetering on the edge with and you're not sure and you don't know whether or not you want to buy it, I feel like it's worth it. I understand that buying a PlayStation 5 may not be in the realm of possibilities, and totally understand that and appreciate that, because PlayStation 5s are not cheap. But if you have access and you have the ability to buy the game and play the game, I absolutely recommend it. I can't recommend it hard enough. It's so fun. It's so fun. Like, I enjoyed every moment of this. There's so many laughs. There's so many tears. It's just a lot of highs and lows. It's just, and they execute it so well at every turn. It's so well done. So yeah, I appreciate you all watching. If you haven't already, make sure you like the video, comment, and subscribe. If you're interested in having any conversation about the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth stuff that's not spoiler related, you can leave it down in the comment section below. If you're interested in talking about some spoiler related content, we'll have that over in a different video, so that way we can speak kind of freely and not have to worry about spoiling folks who haven't had a chance to play the game yet. But I appreciate you all watching. Hope you have a great day, and as always, we'll see you again in the next one. Have a great day, YouTube. Bye!